Okay, can everyone hear me first?
We can.
Okay. Well, hello, my name is Katie. I'm on Team 1816, the Green Machine, and I work strategy and animation, but tonight I will be talking to you a little bit about strategy.
Hey, Kate, if you want to show yourself, you have to start your camera. Yeah.
Sure, okay, sure, I can do that.
There we go.
Hello. Okay, well, my name, like I said, is Katie. I'm on the Green Machine, and so I'm going to
Katie, you need to unmute yourself again. I'm sorry about that. There we go. Gotcha.
Okay, I'll just start from the top of the slide then. When we do strategy for a lot of reasons. First and foremost is that matches played at competitions are not played one-on-one. They're played 3-on-3. You, your two teammates, and then 3 opposing robots. So when you do strategy, you're helping to find a way that your alliance can play the best that it can, and then also scout out how your opponents play so that you can counter how they play so that you can win or get the points that you need. Also, scouting and strategy includes knowing the rules, because knowing the rules is really important, because if you don't know the rules, you're going to get penalized or disqualified, which at a competition is not fun at all. Also, when you do strategy, you interact a lot with teams, and not only are you learning about those teams and where they're from, you can make new friends with them, and you're seeing ideas that they are doing on their robots. And it's just a great learning experience to see what they're doing, because it could be something that you could apply to your own team. Good scouting is really helpful because it can help you to realize the underappreciated robot, because there is one that's usually in every regional or something. It's the robot who maybe he can't score his own points, but he provides really good defense. But because he can't get those points, maybe he's always on the losing alliance. So, but perhaps you're kind of robot that you can score points, but you don't have a good defense, and therefore you might want someone that can hold that defense for you. So it's really important to know he may not be the first rank, but he also could be very good. When the competitions are played, the top 8 teams at the end of the seeding rounds they move on to the finals, and they are allowed to pick their 2 other alliance members. And if you're one of these top 8 teams, it's really important to know which robots work well with yours so that you can pick a winning alliance. And then it's also good to know, just because you need to be prepared to pick, even if you aren't in the top 8, and I'll get to that when I talk about competition. Good scouting also helps you to know your opponents, your own alliance, and your own strengths and weaknesses to help you play your better matches. Because you need to know what you can and can't do and be willing to accept that in order to see what other robots play well with you. Strategy usually starts even before competitions. The main thing that strategy does for the competitions is learning the rules. The rule book is released once once the competition is released, the challenge, and you can actually find that on the first website. And the rule book is exactly what it says. It gives the parameters for the robot's physical aspects, how tall it can be, how heavy. It contains the rules, the way the scoring works, and how you can get penalties in the game. So it's really important. Just like if you wanted to play a board game, you have to understand how it works. Periodically, updates will be published to the first website about the rulebook, and always, always, always check for those updates, because nothing is worse than getting to a competition and realizing that you thought something was illegal and it's not illegal, and then it happens to you, and you think that you're in the right and the other person is in the wrong, but really they were right because you failed to realize that there was an update. So always check for those updates. It's one of the most important things to do with the rulebook. also the rulebook, it gives details about the game, and later on when you're looking at other robots at competition, there are going to be some game-specific items that you want to look for, and that depends entirely on the challenge that's faced. During the build season, strategy should do its best to interact with the build team to let them know how tall the robot can be, how much it can weigh, and then also what to expect in gameplay. Is it a game that needs a fast robot? Is it a game that needs a sturdy robot? And also, you can get ideas about what kind of game strategy you want to play during your matches if, say, you talk to a build team person or the captain of your team. Also during the season, print out copies of the rulebook and just have if you have a designated strategy team, have them sit down, read them, highlight the important stuff, tab the pages you really need to know, and just have the most important stuff down pat, because there might be times where you don't have a rulebook on hand, but you need to know to make a snap decision. So make sure that at least strategy members know the rules. Also, if you do have a designated strategy team, I know a lot of times on smaller teams, the purpose kind of floats around. But make sure that everyone can do every job, because in that way, if your seniors graduate, there's someone in a younger grade that can still know how to do stuff, and they just keep training and training and training. And also, it means that no one gets stuck in a specific job that maybe they don't want to do, or maybe, to just kind of share around the responsibility so everyone can get a taste of what to do. Okay, so once you get to the competition, strategy has a few basic jobs. It can be divided into two main groups. The first group is people that are down in the pits actively talking, or down in the pit area, which is where all of the robots are set up when they aren't in matches. Those teams walk around in the pit area, they introduce themselves to teams, and they gather technical data about the other team's robot, and it allows them to meet the team themselves, not just see a robot and hear, rumors from other teams. And the team dynamic can be really important, because if it's a team that's always arguing, or if it's a team that works really well with other groups, that can affect the gameplay as well. Another basic job is people will be in the stands, or can be in the stands, and they observe the matches and take data on how the matches go. And this can be one person per robot, it can be one person watching the entire alliance, or whatever structure works best for your team and how many numbers or how many people that you have to work up in the stands. The data that you take on these matches, you can take it through a data sheet or use a computer program. So first, a little bit more in depth about the people in the stands. They pretty much collect the raw data that you can see during the matches. How many points does the robot score? Is the robot defensive or offensive? Is it getting a lot of penalties? Is it playing a clean game? Does it have any special traits? Does it have a really cool claw that works? Is it super fast? Is it really slow? Does it not move at all? And it's important that when you have people doing these things, to have a standard that you set it to, because one person's, oh, this robot was really good, may not be the same as the next person who might think, oh, that robot was kind of sad. And then many things to watch for during the matches are actually game specific and can only be known once the official challenge is released. A little bit more into data collection. Really, you can decide how you want to do this in your team. It's totally up to you. One of the main forms is a lot of teams like using data sheets, which are just little, not really snippets of paper, but they're almost like a survey, and you can make them in Excel, and they can be really simple or really elaborate. And they'll have checkboxes and just ways to mark down for the data that you, as a team, decided you want to know about other robots. It's also really important to have penalties and to briefly explain them, like what the penalty is, because there are some penalties that are kind of harmless. Like last year, there was a penalty for crossing a specific line. Well, that can be done on accident. You can get pushed over the line. So that's something that you can easily fix. However, there are penalties that will award you red cards, which is a disqualification, or a yellow card, and then 2 yellow cards equals a red card. So for penalties, it's really important to know what kind of penalty it is. Is it just something that was caused by an accident, or was it something really serious that they just keep doing? One of the main ones is kind of, I guess you could call it rough play, where your sole intent is to cause damage to the other team's robots, and that actually gets you disqualified. Also, a lot of teams try their hand at making a computer program for scouting. And it's really just a data sheet, except you're entering the information into the computer, and it makes it a lot easier to store it. You don't have so much paper. And a lot of teams will put their scouting programs on their websites. And then also a really popular and super good scouting website is thebluealliance.com. So check there, see what they have. I think they have videos, links to teams. So that'll be friendly to you. More about the data sheets. You always want the team number and the match number. The match number is for, say, in match 1, if Team X wasn't working in match 2, but in match 14 it was scoring most of the points, or Team Y gets about 2 penalties every match, which loses their alliance points. So it's really important to know, are they making progress through the competition, or are they just causing mayhem? There can be check boxes for the criteria your team decides they want to know about, additional comment section that can be used for explaining penalties, or, oh, I really like this robot, or, oh, I really don't like this robot. So the data sheets are kind of up to you and your team on what you want to put on them. Okay, the people in the pit. They walk around and interact with the other teams. They promote their own team at the same time, so it's really important to give off a good impression. Because they're actually talking to the teams firsthand, they get the most feel for how the team's dynamic is. You know, if the team is always arguing, or they never want to work with someone else, or they think that it's their way or the highway, that may not be something that you want. But if they are helpful to each other, if they work well with other teams, if they're willing to try new stuff, that's something good to look for in a team. Also, when you go and you talk to teams in the pit, you're also getting a chance to look at the robot up close, not from the stands watching matches. So you can see design strengths or weaknesses, basic information, and it also allows you to talk to the other teams. Okay, so just a little how-to on how to approach the other teams. You pretty much, you can divide and conquer. You can set up your teams, have one team take one side of the pit or the other, however you want to do that. But pretty much you and usually I would recommend two people per little scout team, I guess. There can be more, but I wouldn't send too many, otherwise it just gets really crowded in the pit area. So pretty much the team goes to the team's pit area that you want to, talk to. If there's no one there, or if they're super busy, you can always come back later. A lot of times teams will just be coming back from a match, and maybe something broke or their battery charges out, or they need to suddenly reprogram something. If they look really busy, they aren't going to want to talk to you, so you can always just stop by later. But if they are there, walk up, be confident, but smile, be friendly, shake their hand and look them in the eye, if they offer to shake hands, which most of them will. So just, be polite, approach them, and be professional. The pit can be kind of noisy too, so speak deliberately and loud enough that you can hear each other, but don't yell. Don't yell. You're going to be asking them questions about the robot, so make sure that you have the questions that you want to ask ready to go, so that you have a lot of moments. So just, don't do that. Just know what you want to ask. A lot of teams, they're actually really excited when the scouting teams come to their pit area, because this is their chance to really show off their robot to the other teams. So take advantage of that. See what they have to show you. And always remember, gracious professionalism, be nice, but be professional at the same time. But it's okay to talk to them. You don't just have to rattle off your questions and leave, If you see something really interesting, ask, whoa, how does that work? They'll really like it if you talk to them like a person rather than just bombard them with questions and then run away. Showing interest in their team, This is also a really good time that if you have buttons or like little bows or ribbons and stuff, to hand them out to the team that you're talking to, because then that way it's kind of like a business card, and they'll remember you more. And if you have like a button, a lot of people love wearing buttons at the competition. At the same time that you're going, like your scout teams go to talk to other teams will be sending their scout teams to talk to your team in their pit. So it's always good to have a few designated people that are usually around the pit area or can be in the pit area, so that when scout teams come asking, they can talk about your own team and their robot. Once again, gracious professionalism. And market your team as one that plays well and works well with others and would be a good choice for an alliance, because that's really the goal of this, is that you want to get picked for an alliance. After competitions, you know, the two main jobs are people in the stands or in the pits, but there are other tasks to be done. And it all depends on how many people you have on your team. But one of the really important things is make sure that you have a strategy member that knows the rule book really, really well, present during inspections. That way, if something is confusing or your team thinks that something is wrong, they can consult the rule book and either say, the inspector is right, we need to fix this, or I'm not quite sure that this is right. Also, depending on how many numbers you have, you can plan ahead and actually talk to the teams before your matches so that you can set up the best possible gameplay for your upcoming matches. And then if you have enough time, you can also go and scout out the teams that you're playing against, and, you know, just with that information, devise out the best game plan for your match. And make sure that the information that you get from that gets to your drivers or the captain or both, or better yet, just have them with you or with the scouting team as they talk to the alliance members for future matches. Okay, a little bit more about the inspections. There are pretty much the two inspections, the robot inspection and the safety inspection. The robot inspection is where they make sure it's not too tall, it's not too heavy, and the safety inspection is exactly what it sounds like, make sure no sharp edges, no loose wires. So have a strategy member present who knows the rule book, and if you aren't confident that you have the entire thing memorized, which is perfectly understandable, have a rule book with you to consult. And first, pretty much what they're there for is if the inspector says something that may not be right, don't argue with them. You know, that's one of the worst things to do. The first thing for the strategy person to do is to look at the rule book to make absolutely sure that they didn't miss something or it's just a bad on your part. But if you do find that something the inspector said is not right, let your captain know. Don't start arguing with the inspector. I can't say that enough. And then have the captain respectfully let the inspector know about the discrepancy, and always be gracious and professional. And that's really important, because sometimes, you know, inspectors can get tired. They might say something that is allowed, but they might say that it's not allowed. So it's always good to point that out. Otherwise, you could end up taking apart your robot. Okay, the finals. Pretty much every competition comes down to. In the finals, the top 8 teams, the top 8 ranked teams, they're alliance partners. So they're picking 2 of their teams to join them in the final matches. Usually what they'll do is the top 8 teams know this before they have to decide, and they will go and talk to the teams that they are considering selecting. So if a team that's ranked top 8 comes to talk to you, this is one of your last chances to make a good impression on them and show them that you would be a great alliance partner for them to pick, and that you could help them win the finals. Show your interest in being selected. Follow up and talk to the teams, but don't overdo it and don't be seen as pushy. And go tell them, hey, you know, good job, guys. You know, we'd like to work with you if you would let us. So, and an important thing too is even if you aren't in the top 8 teams, have your list of preferred teams to pick, even if you aren't the top 8. The reason for this is that, let's say team number 1, ranked number 1 picks the number 2 ranked team, and number 2 accepts. Then they become an alliance, and then the number 2 position is open. So then every team slides up 1. So the number 3 becomes the number 2, the number becomes a number 3, so on and so forth. And then since there will then only be 7 potential alliances, bring in the number 9 team, and that becomes the number 8 team. And this can actually be really common. A lot of times, the top two ranked teams will pick each other, or maybe somewhere in the middle. So if you're immediately below the top 8, have your list of preferred robots available, because you never know if you're going to slide out into that position to be able to choose. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions, you can contact us. So, thank you. Any questions?
I've opened it up so that you can unmute yourself and ask questions. Are there any questions out there? All right, nobody's typing, nobody's unmuting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Katie. We're gonna wrap it up. Next session is next Tuesday night. And as always, if you've got questions or comments, just send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you.